We are up here. I'm in the middle of nowhere, literally. This is the middle of nowhere. I don't even know that I've looked at timber in this part of the country too much, this part of Missouri. Now, I just got done buying a pretty decent little job of walnut up here. But I mean, when I say we're out in the middle of nowhere, I mean we are out in the middle of nowhere. Now, this is pretty neat here. There's a lot of little creeks and ditches up here in this part of the country. We're kind of here between Lake of the Ozarks and Truman Lake, just on the south end of them. But lots of little creeks and ditches. When I say ditches, I mean they're more, I call these ditches. Of course, back home we've got bigger creeks, but you know, these flow so much water because they're spring fed, a lot of them. They'll run year round, but we are literally out here in the middle of nowhere. I mean, there's nothing even remotely close to where we're at. Little caves over there. I like getting to see this country. Now, I've had some calls about tracts of timber up here in the past, and I've cut a big job maybe 10 miles straight west of here, and it was horrible. From what I've been up in here, this is a place where the timber can run. It's either going to run one or two ways. It's either going to be really good or it's going to be really terrible. And the tract of timber I cut that I was just talking about 10 miles from here, it looked incredible standing. Like, it was one of the prettiest stands of white oak I've ever been in. But we went to cut that, and it was terrible. I mean, it was terrible. It was nearly 800 acres, and it was horrible. I borderline lost money on it. That's how bad it was. I mean, it just was not a good stand of timber, and all of it was like that. There might have been a couple of little bitty draws we cut that had decent trees in it. For the most part, it was terrible. We had more cull logs, firewood logs, than we did actually logs to make even pallet material out of. Like I said, it's different. That's one thing about logging I really like, is getting up here and getting to see a lot of this different country. You know, whether it's up here in central Missouri, or like Friday, I've got to go down here to Arkansas to look at the job of timber there in the northwest corner of Arkansas. And, I mean, that's part of the job I really like, is getting to see all this country, man. It makes it nice. So there's a lot of big trees up in here in some of these areas, and I know there's a couple of sawmills here close to where I'm at, and they're always cutting a lot of timber. But I just wonder how much of it. I think a lot of it's just pallet and tie stuff. I don't know if they cut a lot of grade logs. As always, they're calling for more rain again. I know they're at Stockton, it's supposed to be there about noon. I'm up here. What it's showing on the GPS, the closest town where we are at, or closest town to us, is Edwards, Missouri. That's what address we're running off of. So I know the roads to get in. There ain't no good way to get here, but there does seem to be quite a bit of walnut up in here in down these little draws and ditches. Of course, anywhere there's a creek, there's a good chance there's going to be some walnut. Of course, we didn't even hardly get out of the truck to look at trees, which I always like deals like that, where you can just kind of drive and coast along and look at all the timber. That makes it nice. This time of year, and the grass gets tall, ticks are bad. You're out there messing with that stuff. I hate ticks. Seems like they get worse every year too. See a lot of this stuff here, you just look and you're like, man, there ain't even any timber here. And a lot of this oak up in here, like I said, I just don't want anything to do with it. I really don't. It's terrible quality oak timber. A lot of it's not real big, tie size. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm sure you get down some of these draws and hollers up here, and there's some buster oak, because I know there's a lot of white oak up in this country. But yeah, for the most part, there's a lot of tie timber up in here, tie size timber. That looks like a pretty good little hillside of white oak right there. It's so hard to see anything this time of year when the vegetation comes on. I hate summertime logging. I just absolutely hate it. just like even this deal up here, I mean, it's an hour, probably about an hour and 20 minutes one way from my house up here to this job site. And the only reason I'm even interested in it is because it's a decent little stand of walnut. Other than that, if it was oak, I'd probably try to sub that out. See, we're kind of starting to get back up in this higher ground where there ain't no timber at all. Man, how would you like to live out in the middle of one of these places? I know a lot of people do, but man, I wouldn't want to drive this much dirt road all the time. Just to, not only that, I mean, the closest town of any real size to it is probably Warsaw, and I bet we're 20 miles from Warsaw. So basically, if you need any supplies, you got to go to Warsaw. And it might not be that, I mean, it's probably about the same distance to Cameron, or blah, I can't even talk. Same different distance to Camdenton. Flustered. But usually even if I go on a lot of dry runs, maybe 1 out of every 10 jobs of timber I look at, I buy that I'm interested in. I won't take every job. I just don't do it. I mean, unless myself and the landowner can both make money, I'm just not interested in it. Of course, we get a lot of calls. People don't know what they have, and it's just a lot of timber it's not big enough to cut. And I mean, I don't get mad about that, because you never know until you look, and I'm more than happy to come out and look at someone's timber. I am. And this is a lot of the reason why, because I get to see this pretty countryside. I mean, anytime I get to see new territory, new area, I enjoy it. I'm kind of like an old conquistador explorer. I like to get out and see the scenery, see the new areas, see the sights. Man, guys, I get to see a lot of pretty country that nobody ever gets to see hardly, just because my job allows me to go places to look at timber on different landscapes and different terrains and different areas. That's what I like about this job and where I live at. You know, one day if I'm working out in eastern Kansas, it's flat as a pancake. Then, the next day I might be down around Springfield in that area, kind of them rolling hills. Then I might be over here kind of in the northeast of Stockton in the lake area up here in this hilly country, or northern Arkansas in the real steep hills. Go up around Kansas City in the farm country. You just never know. I mean, that's what I like about the job. It's something new, something different challenge, new area all the time.